Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Riverbend Discovery Center. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day so far. And today we are actually going to be starting part one of a multi-part reptile house. I don't really know how many parts this is going to be, but I hope to have a good amount of species in here. We start off with I believe, Asian water monitor. And I already messed up on saying it's a reptile house because the first animal we actually do put in here is going to be the American bullfrog from the North America DLC. I love these guys. I can't get enough of them. So that is what we're going to be working on today. But before we could actually do that, I wanted to secure a good enough look for the exterior of the habitat first. And one of the ways I want to do this was get it to look nice and modern, kind of on line with like the rest of Riverbend Discovery Center, and I felt like this would be the best way to go about it. So, you can see me using a lot of different pieces in here. I'm using a mixture of the limestone, using a mixture of the mud, as well as the plaster pieces to make this look all nice and concise. And I also use a variety of like those different poles as well, just to make sure it contains itself nicely, just so it frames it better. And we kind of continue that throughout the rest of the build itself. Not going to continue this all the way around the entire exterior. There are going to be some kind of unsightly back end parts. Maybe we can do an outdoor area for some like alligator or something like that, but we'll get to that when we actually do get to that. Right now, I really wanted to focus on getting a nice bright interior, and I feel like we did something pretty good in here. And if you guys have been around since the Sugar Pine era of Leaf Productions, you guys may recall something kind of online with this kind of style, but we're going for a little bit more modernized in that kind of way. So I really wanted to use these I-beams alongside like, you know, these beautiful white poles with these bright colors as well. Getting these all together is going to help us get a beautiful interior for this entire build all together, and I am really sold with how well this all works together. It looks incredible. Once we actually do get to the B-roll, it looks so good. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Now, one of the main issues in here was actually getting a habitat to work in there. So one of the things I really wanted to make sure I did first was make sure that we could actually fit water in there at an appropriate level, and it comes about up to like your shin, I guess, if you're standing right next to it, which I think works pretty well for, you know, an underwater viewing for the Asian water monitors. We also have an above ground viewing, like, later into the house itself once you're further down that trek, and I think it looks pretty good. Also, I am so pissed I can't use modded scenery in here, because, oh my gosh, NDP's faux rock pack would be perfect for this build. It looks so beautiful, and I honestly regret not using that in here, but you know what? It's part of the challenge. It just keeps me inspired for the next build later down the line. I also really wanted to hammer down that realism in here, so I do add stairs so keepers can get down there and clean up their habitat, as well as some vents. Always do love adding those things in there. It always helps them make a build feel so much more lived in, so much more real and stuff like that. I don't know, I'm just very happy with how well that all came out. And we're also doing that viewing platform right there. I really wanted to go for like this temple kind of theme, but no, I kind of more so settled on a kind of like a little bit of a glimpse into the habitat with some very light theming elements in here, like this dry stone over here. And I also do add some vines all around the build itself, just to make it feel a lot more tropical, because Asian water monitors do come from tropical regions, such as like, you know, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, and stuff like that. They're very common in those places, so it's just very awesome to get these guys in here. One of the other things I also wanted to do was do some planting. Normally you wouldn't really see complete planted areas for these guys, but I felt like we could take the L over here because we did add those stairs. We're kind of in like a balancing act between realism and fantasy, but I feel like it honestly works for the exhibit as a whole because of all the realism that we do include in there, and we make sure that they're able to swim down there as well. Hopefully we can actually get them to swim down there, because that'd be nice as well. Also doing some work on the exterior itself. We'll finish this off in like the last episode, so we do get like a nice good view at the entire thing all together, like, you know, the whole shebang. But at least for the time being, I did want to get this beautiful planted look to it. I also made sure before I even started to make sure it looked good with the sun, because that is something that I really do struggle with so many times. I start building something, I get too far into the build itself, and then I move the sun position around, and it does not look good. That is like my biggest pet peeve when it comes to building stuff like this, that, oh my god, I always need to like triple check myself when it comes to that stuff. But actually moving on through here, one of the things I do want to do is add a roof to make sure it looks all good at night, because when you do build interiors, I honestly prioritize how it looks at night over how it looks in the day, because that way you get all the lighting, you get all that stuff to come up, and it looks so much nicer. We're also adding a few fish tanks in here. It's not even a reptile house anymore. It's just an indoor building. I think it may even be a tropical house, or just like, you know, an exhibition of a bunch of different stuff in here. Maybe this is the Discovery Center itself. Oh my gosh. But no, we actually call it the reptile house, so who knows? Maybe they had reptiles, only reptiles in here at one point. But moving on through here, just trying to actually select the thing at first just to make sure that we could double that, because I did want to make sure that I use the most amount of pieces to the best of my ability. And even if that means copying something over twice right next to itself, that's totally fine. It adds to the overall experience as a whole. We're also using a absolute ton of lion signs in here, just to make sure that we do hammer down education, and we also do that mulch trick, because if you guys have ever been to Mystic Aquarium, I'm not sure how many of you guys are from New England, but if you guys know like their tropical area for their like freshwater fish, that is exactly like the vibe I want to try and emulate in here. And they have like that little mulch on the bottom over there. It's just very cool. Also adding some lighting in here as well, just kind of unique stuff, but I think we don't even keep that in there because it was just such a hassle to get in there. I don't know, you can see me struggling with that right now. But overall, we do add these new lights in from the, I believe, Europe pack. These guys are beautiful. I think they're even base game too, because they came with like the restaurant update, but they work so well for interiors. I just love like not too hyper stylized lighting like that. It's perfect. And we also do add some pathing lights as well, just to make sure that guests do not get lost. That would be a very awful thing to have. But moving on through here, also adding that little bit of a heat lamp for our little reptiles, because guess what? Reptiles are cold-blooded creatures. They do require some heating and stuff like that as a way to keep themselves like thermally regulated and whatnot. We also add that little basket for them as well, because Nile monitors do tend to eat eggs as well. So we just threw that in there for a little bit of enrichment for the guys. I think that came out pretty well. Moving on through the rest of here, we're just in the signage mood right now. I am very excited to start working on interior for once, and this one is so fun. One of the other things I did as well was add this little red portion over here to emulate a little bit of a farmhouse. So we do add some windows over there. Obviously they don't really go anywhere, but it would just be implied that you would have some education right over there telling you about like how reptiles affect you at your own home and whatnot. I feel like that is very nice right over there. And we also add like a little signage right next to that one window over there. You know the one I'm talking about. So we do move some more education in here just to make sure it all fits nicely. And there we go, we add that little education sign. I think that came out pretty nice. And we also add some shingles up there as a way to make it feel more like a home, turning that house into a home, if you will. And it comes out pretty nice. We actually take it, well, we kind of push it nice and snug against the wall. It looks pretty damn good over there. And we also continue the build a little bit more, saving the next part for when I actually do feel a little bit more inspired to build it, because right now that was pretty much all I had in me. I like blew out all my steam right there because as of late I haven't really been feeling too inspired with Planet Zoo recently. That's probably the reason why you don't see too many speed builds as of late, but I'm pretty happy with how well this all came out. It was a pretty nice build altogether. And it's just really fun taking the time to make small habitats like this instead of doing like your big old swooping landscapes and whatnot. Just moving on through here, adding some more stuff. I actually use the Australia signs over there. This is a way to give us a little bit more info for what the animal actually is in there, and just triple checking how everything looks with the lighting back there. Tucking some planted walls as well, as a way to give it a little bit more, like, you know, variation in there and whatnot. We also do a little bit of a stand over here for an iguana statue. I think that was pretty cute. One of the things I notice about indoor exhibits is that you're never bored when you come to them. There's always something for you to look at, and I feel like that is such an integral part to the zoo and aquarium experience, and that's exactly why I want to start to replicate inside of Riverbend as well. Moving on through here, I also add a bunch of plants. This is the most amount of fun I've had with gardening ever. So we also add some periwinkle, like, grass over there as a way to get, like, this base of flowers, and then we actually do add flowers later down the line. We add the periwinkle flowers in there, which are beautiful, by the way, but we also work them in with the African daisies to create this beautiful pink coloration over there. And we also do some roofing as well, nothing too crazy, but just making sure it looks good from the guest perspective, because as we all know, I don't really like to build roofs. Roofs are easily one of my least favorite things to actually build in this game, so the least work I have to do on that, the better. So that's why I tend to opt for flat roofs. I know it's not really the best looking thing in the world, but it is extremely realistic when it comes to situations like this. Oftentimes you'll see these in a little bit more warmer climate areas. There, they don't really need to worry about snow, like caving in on roofs and whatnot. So that's exactly what we add right there as a way to make sure that we get that all settled. We also start to work on a sign right over there that is just our reptile house sign. I do use Ricey's fonts in here. I forget which one I actually do use. I think it's a cashmere font, which is beautiful. It has uppercase and lowercase, which is perfect for when it comes to signs like this, because it's just a little bit more, like, I don't know, it's not as intense as all of her other fonts are. This one is a lot more approachable, if that makes sense at all. So we just link all those up together and we kind of put them right there. It took me a little bit to really figure out the vibe for this actual sign, but I think it came out pretty well in the end. Here I am just trying to fix all these colors all together. And I think using the tiles over there came out pretty well. It really frames it so nicely. And I think it came out pretty damn good in the end. It's just very simple. We kind of like double the font on itself, so it's a little bit more thicker, a little bit easier to read because it is a very stylized font. And we do change it up so it's a little bit on a slant. I feel like that gives it a little bit more character. And we also do cover that up right there just to make sure the building feels a lot more secure. Make sure, like, you know, heat wouldn't escape or anything like that. We also add some more fencing and walls as a way to make it feel a lot more contained, at least this portion of the build, because by the end of this build, I will have this all link up together, hopefully, knock on wood, if I'm still inspired for a reptile house by then, but adding some lighting in here, making sure that the entire build feels a lot more cohesive, and adding in the rest of the fencing as well, just to make sure that everything stays nice and contained, make sure our guests don't really trot on our beautiful flowers. Listen, I worked so hard on them. We don't want anyone to ruin them, but here we go into the cinematics. I just really wanted to thank you guys for stopping by. It really is amazing to be back here in Riverbend, especially with all you guys. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the last otter habitat. I will be kind of like bouncing in between projects in here, so definitely do keep that in mind. But all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. Take care and have the most wonderful of wonderful days. Bye-bye now.